Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is a Trex decking installation video. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe and smash that like button if you find value in this video. Let's get started. Before you start your Trex decking project, be sure your floor joists are no more than 16 inches apart. In this case, they're no more than 12 inches apart, which is actually ideal. And if you have a break to where two Trex boards come together, be sure to scab a 2x4 on the side, pressure treated of course, to catch each side of the edge of that Trex. To install your Trex decking, you need to use what's called hidden fasteners made by Trex. And these are going to come with the starter clips used to start the second row of Trex. I'll explain in just a moment. And if you're curious to see what these look like, they look like this, and they'll space out your Trex and it'll fasten them at the same time, which is very convenient. And you also need to get a box of these composite decking screws. These are engineered just for composite decking. So you're going to need these to install your first row of Trex. Let's get started. So there's two different Trex designs you need to be aware of, the groove Trex and the square edge Trex. Your first row needs to be square edge. If you look at it up close, it does not have a groove compared to the groove kind because the hidden fasteners slide into here, and this first row cannot have the groove because it's going to be an exposed edge. So you want to make sure you get the starter row, the square edge. So to understand how to install this stuff, you need to understand the fasteners. So your first row is the square edge Trex, which does not have a groove, so you must use the composite decking screw. You usually go about 1 inch from each edge and mark them out as you go so they look very uniform. And you want to make sure you start at each joist so you have somewhere to screw. And then your next board is installed using these hidden fastener clips, and these are called starter clips that come in the box with the regular hidden fasteners, and they just butt up against a spacer, which is typically used with a composite shim broken half at about right there. It seems to be the typical span that you need to start that second row. And then after you start that second row, your remaining rows are installed using the regular hidden fastener clips, and I'm going to show you in detail how all of this goes together. So the star drive that you see here comes in the box with the hidden fasteners, so don't worry about picking up a star drive. And the first thing you got to do is slide your Trex decking board into the clips of the existing clips installed, and then after you're tight against your other board, go ahead and just slide your hidden fastener into the groove edge of that piece of Trex. Hold it snug against the Trex and then tighten it down. And do not over tighten it. You want it to be a little loose because you need the next board to slide in with ease, and then you tighten up the one behind it. And you do tighten this one up all the way. Something you need to do as you install your hidden fasteners, be sure to put pressure against the Trex board while you install this hidden fastener. As you can see here, I have my leg kind of wedged against that board to keep it snug against the hidden fasteners that are already installed. And then you can just put your next one down with ease, again loose, and then tighten the one up behind it. On to the next one. So to finish this run of Trex, it's going to end up against the house. So whenever you have Trex meeting against the house, you want to be sure to leave a 1/4 inch gap, and wherever it butts against the other Trex board, you leave an 1/8 inch gap. So the best thing to do is measure your actual distance and subtract 3/8 of an inch, and that's your board length to finish up this run. Where the boards butt against the house, I like to finish them using a spacer and a composite decking screw. So use that same spacer you use for the starter clips, space the board appropriately, and then in order to use these composite decking screws, I'd like to use an 1/8 inch drill bit and go about 1 inch from the edge and 1/4 away from the very end of the board. Go ahead and pre-drill your hole, and then take your composite decking screw and drive it flush with the top of the board. All right, so that's how I like to finish the ends of the boards, and that's how you install these composite decking screws. It's very important to have an 1/8 inch gap between where the boards meet because you need to allow room for expansion and contraction. And in order to get this uniform gap like you see here, take a composite shim, the thin side, slide it between the boards when you install them, so that way you get the uniform gap that you need for expansion. So now we're at the last row before we hit the house. And this piece is going to need ripped down. And I'm going to bring the camera down here close so I can show you exactly how to measure it correctly. So now we're at this last row where we need to fill this gap in. So it's not as easy as measuring from the house to the actual Trex board. That measurement's 5 3/8, and that's way wider than you actually need. So we need to allow a 1/4 inch gap behind here, and we actually need to allow enough space we can slide in and go under this hidden fastener clip. So what we need to do is measure from the edge of the house to the actual clip that allows for the gap. So that gives us about 5 1/8. So all you gotta do is take 5 1/8 and subtract a 1/4 inch to allow for the gap, and that's gonna be our measurement. So we're gonna need 4 7/8 inch wide board to finish up. I'm going to use this table saw to rip down my piece of Trex, but you can also use a circular saw. It cuts just like wood. All right, now that we got our piece ripped down, we're just gonna lay it into the space it's going. And I gotta move this electrical cord here. And now all we gotta do is push it back against the house and then slide it into the actual hidden fasteners, just like that. So there's really nothing to it on this last piece, and now I'm going to go through every 2 foot and anchor this using composite decking screws. In order to finish this up, I like to use a pry bar and get your board setting where you need it and go ahead and slide it tight into the hidden fastener. Okay, and now I'll take a shim and slide it back in behind it just to hold it snug, and then the pry bar will hold it as snug as we can get. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. All right, so now we're just gonna hold a little pressure on it and then pre-drill the screw hole. Okay, and then all you gotta do is just take one of your regular decking, composite decking screws, snug it up, and draw it tight. All right, so now the screw is hidden back here. When your J channel goes on, it's going to hide this screw. So just show you an example how this screw is going to be hidden. Once your J channel goes on for your siding, you'll never see that screw. It's hidden behind there, so it continues the hidden fastener sequence. All right, let's finish screwing off this whole board. On this last row, you don't have to use a pry bar. You can just get shims and shim it tight and then put the screw in and then remove the shims. I have done that in the past, but it's a little bit slower. So this method is a little bit quicker, and I did this whole board in probably no more than, I think, 3 or 4 minutes it was. So this way is fast, but the other way it's a little easier to do in my opinion. And be sure you have 2 drills to go at the same time. It makes it way faster too, as you see here. So now you need your hidden fastener bit and go through and tighten up those hidden fasteners that you haven't got to yet. As you see me use this impact driver, just be careful if you use one, because it doesn't take much to strip out the little screws on the fastener. Okay, so that is how you end the Trex decking. It looks really nice, can't complain, and we're flush with this door opening, how I like it. So when you transition walking out of the house, it's a nice smooth transition, looks really good. And if you're curious to see what these starter boards look like, here's what they look like. And you got these screws that you can't see very well, which is that is what you want. And then I still got to build steps coming off here, of course. If you have any questions about this Trex installation video, be sure to ask them below in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. My name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.